The Ministry of Health, the MOH, is targeting to have 50% of children in Malaysia aged 5 to 11 vaccinated against COVID-19 through the National COVID-19 Immunisation Programme for Children before the school session begins next week. As such, Health Minister Khairi Jamaluddin urged parents to immediately bring their children to get their vaccine shot in order to protect them from the adverse effects should they be infected with COVID-19. Commenting further, Khairi said what is worrying is that the children's admission into the intensive care unit ICU due to COVID-19, as currently only 32% of children aged 5 to 11 have been vaccinated. The minister also urged parents not to have the mentality of just waiting and seeing and taking their children for vaccination immediately. He said the vaccine may not be able to prevent an infection, but at least the children will be protected from the adverse effects of COVID-19. The minister said this after a community service program organised by the Malaysian Association of Medical Assistants in Seremban Negeri Sembilan. At the event, Khairi said the MOH plans to hold a health screening month in July to encourage more people aged 40 and above to undergo free health screenings at government hospitals and health clinics. The government is expected to announce Hajj cost and quota for this year early next month, according to Deputy Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Religious Affairs, Dato' Ahmad Marzuq Shari. The announcement would be made following discussion between the Malaysian government, to be represented by Minister of Religious Affairs, Dato' Idris Ahmad, and the Saudi government next week. Commenting further, Dato' Ahmad Marzuq said on the invitation of the Saudi government, Dato' Idris would be in Saudi Arabia from the 18th to 27th March to discuss the SOPs and Hajj-related matters. He said this after attending the College Technology Darul Naim KTD convocation ceremony at the Dewan Jubilee Perak Panji complex in Kota Baru. In another development, Dato' Ahmad Marzuq said the implementation of physical distancing during congregational prayers, in line with the transition to the endemic phase of COVID-19 beginning 1st April, was within the jurisdiction of each state, adding that congregational prayers in federal territories would be performed without having to observe physical distancing. The Keluarga Malaysia Education Tour JPKM program, organised by Yayasan Prihatin Nasional Prihatin, can help realise the aspirations of rural students to further their studies at the tertiary level. Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said with the tour to be held at 50 locations throughout the country, the target group could be better approached and facilitated. Elaborating further, Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri said, in fact, this education tour can help students with financial problems to further their studies with contributions from various agencies.
Fokus kita adalah untuk membantu keluarga-keluarga miskin, untuk membantu pelajar-pelajar daripada kawasan luar bandar pendalaman. Dari segi pendidikannya, dari segi fasilitasnya mungkin tidak mempunyai padang permainan yang sama rata dengan pelajar-pelajar yang berada di bandar-bandar besar. Jadi dengan adanya program pendidikan jelajah ini, maka kita boleh melihat pelajar-pelajar yang sedikit ketinggalan akibat daripada status keluarga mereka dari segi pendapatan dan juga dari segi kedudukan mereka.
He also called on government agencies, private companies and government-linked companies to contribute so that more poor and underprivileged students could be helped. He added that through the tour, students who had missed out on gaining entry to institutes of higher learning due to reasons such as errors in filling the online form, being late in submitting the form, or choosing the wrong field of study could be given another opportunity to apply. Barisan Nasional BN must be really ready and have the support of the majority of the people for Prime Minister Datuk Seri Ismail Sabri Yaakob to dissolve Parliament to enable the 15th general election to be held. Communications and Multimedia Minister Tan Sri Anwar Musa, who agreed that the time has come to start preparing for GE15, said that the best thing to do now was to review all relevant matters, including public sentiment. The minister, through a posting on his Facebook page, said Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri's reaction reflected the wisdom and political maturity of a Prime Minister because the GE was not a small matter. What more to dissolve a ruling government with the mandate from almost all Dewan Rakyat members? He said the Prime Minister represented a minority party, namely 42 out of 116 coalition seats in the Parliament, which has a total of 222 seats, and as such, discussions with the government must be taken into account. According to Tan Sri Anwar, the date for the dissolution of the Dewan Rakyat must be a top secret of the ruling party and remain at the discretion of the Prime Minister, not decided through organised pressure. He also said that BN's victories in the Malacca and Johor polls were because the party leadership knew their preparedness apart from the people's sentiments in supporting the state government's decision. The minister added that the results of both the state elections were also due to the support of the party headquarters, Prime Minister, ministers and deputy ministers, chief ministers and division heads nationwide, which is unmatched by any other parties. Welcome back. The government wants to see not only output but also the outcome, not only in terms of the financial performance of government-linked companies, GLCs, and government-linked investment companies, GLICs, but also in terms of the continued positive impact on the business ecosystem, especially the micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri Yaakob said the benefits of economic growth must be distributed fairly to ensure sustainable and inclusive development for the whole keluarga Malaysia. He said although the government implemented the GLC High Performance Programme in 2004 to 2014, which included, among others, clarifying the mandate of GLCs in the context of national development and improving corporate governance, they need to remain agile, especially in terms of continuous improvement and strengthening the role of GLC or GLIC to remain competitive. He said this is important in the context of the new post-COVID-19 normal, as well as the ever-changing global business landscape to ensure that GLCs or GLICs can provide optimal impact to the country's socio-economic development. To date, GLCs account for about 445 billion ringgit in market capitalization, or about 25% of the market capitalization of Bursa Malaysia. On another note, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri stressed that the government wanted continued coordination and cooperation through the GLC-GLIC Disaster Response Network platform, which is now known as GLC Demi Rakyat dan Negara. He said looking ahead, GDRN can be a network that is not only responsive, but also more proactive in providing assistance to keluarga Malaysia in need. In terms of outcomes, GDRN will reduce the duplication of efforts undertaken by GLCs, GLICs individually and increase efficiency in adopting resource allocation. He added that when there is a platform to coordinate these efforts, the government can also collect data to ensure that no keluarga Malaysia is left out in terms of assistance and building a meaningful life. Indirectly, Dato' Sri Ismail Sabri said this will also create transparency for the programs run by the GLCs, GLICs, while ensuring effectiveness in the outcome of social impact efforts. About 400,000 hectares, or 40% of the total rubber plantations operated by smallholders nationwide, have been found to be inactive or not consistently producing rubber. Plantation Industries and Commodities Minister Dato' Zuraida Kamaruddin said, should the entire 150,000 smallholders of rubber plantation be managed efficiently and consistently, 30 billion ringgit worth of rubber production could be generated.
Kita hendak menyelaraskan kawasan-kawasan getah yang tidak konsisten ini untuk memastikan bahawa production mereka terus konsisten dan ini akan meningkatkan hasil. Seluruh Malaysia dalam 40% ladang-ladang getah kecil ini tidak konsisten dari segi dia punya pengorehan.
According to her, the ministry and related agencies are looking for ways to resolve the issue, among others by creating cooperatives in the rubber plantation areas identified to bring smallholders under one entity. She said that through this method, the cooperatives created can act to manage inactive or inconsistent rubber plantations so that rubber production can be optimized. Dato' Zuraida added that if all smallholders' rubber production could be optimized, the country's natural rubber and rubber products export revenue could be more than the 71 billion ringgit recorded last year. Zifei Nur Izzuddin Rumsani carved their own history after beating Chinese pair Liu Yuchen Wu Zhuanyi to claim their first ever World Tour title at the German Open 2022 earlier today. Now, the final match of the tournament held in the Western Nergi sport hell Mulham saw Zifei Nur Izzuddin fight neck and neck with the Chinese in the early stage of the first game, with the score tied at 7-7 before Yuchen Zhuanyi raced to an 11-8 lead at the interval. Let's take a look. More schools start. Join us for more updates at 10 p.m. later tonight. Now, we leave you with a video of twin baby pandas of France Beauval Zoo walked for the first time on soil and grass as they were finally allowed into their outside enclosure 7 months after their birth. Now, the cubs named Yuan Dudu and Huan Li had Paris Saint-Germain soccer star Kylian Mbappe and Chinese Olympic diving champion Zhang Jiaqi as godparents. Till then, I'm Mona Bria. To all members of Keluarga Malaysia, have a great afternoon.